Hey, everybody, welcome in. We have plenty to talk about here on my weekly Ask Me Anything. I hope you're all doing well. I'm doing fantastic. My voice is a little bit shot, so hopefully it holds on here for the duration of the next 45 minutes or an hour or so. So, listen, I am trying to get this also to work at the same time on Twitter. My Twitter feed, for whatever reason, right now is a little bit slow. So just give me a second here as we get rolling. I'm going to talk about the Bills and the Chiefs game for a second, and then we can go from there. Um, so listen, a lot to get to, obviously. Stacy, what's up, man? Jason, how you doing? Appreciate you guys as always. Stacy, by the way, I read your thoughts on the Chiefs on Twitter. I thought you were bang on, man, which is not surprising, but certainly true. Um, so let me just let me try one more time here to get the Twitter version of this going as well. If it doesn't go, then it doesn't go. The hell with it. We'll just roll like this. Um, okay. Let's see. All right, one more time. Listen, like I said, plenty to get to today. There we go. I think we're good now. Okay, got it. Thanks, guys. Thanks for the patience. Okay, good. Okay, so let's get into the game, and then I'll take any questions everybody has. Look, if you're watching, obviously on the Arrowhead Addict podcast feed, just drop the question right into the YouTube channel, and I am more than happy to get to all of them. And if you're listening on Twitter, just drop a question in the replies if you have one, and I'll get to all those questions as well. So thank you, everybody, for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Look, so I talked a lot about this loss yesterday. I talked a lot about it on the podcast. I spoke about it at great length. I'm gonna revisit one or two things I talked about because I think it was important, at least in terms of where I think this team's going to go. So one bad, one good. Here's the thing that concerns me with the Chiefs moving forward. I worry about their coaching. I really do. Um, Look, I'm not saying that Andy Reid's not an upper echelon coach in the NFL. He is. And I believe that Spagnuolo is one of the best coordinators in the NFL. I really do. I mean, his history says that. But they make way too many boneheaded decisions during the course of the game. And I don't mean things like that I just happen to disagree with. I mean like just obvious dumb decisions that cost the team. And I thought Andy yesterday, like the time management was just insane. Like you have to call a timeout with a minute 45 to go and two timeouts, and the Bills run the ball. Like you have to call a timeout there. The Bills did that specifically so you'd call a timeout, which is fine. You were compelled to do so. To not call a timeout against Buffalo in that spot is crazy when you know that Buffalo is probably going to score a touchdown based on how good Buffalo is. And you're going to need that minute 45. Look, the Bills defense is great, but with a minute 45 and a timeout and Mahomes, like you feel like you have a pretty decent chance to get down the field. Maybe you don't get that, maybe you don't get there. But you do what you have to do there and you call that timeout. I also thought, look, the Chiefs didn't run the ball great to start, and then they got better. Like you've got to start handing the ball off to Isaiah Pacheco. And that's not a slam on Edwards-Helaire. Edwards-Helaire is not fast enough to run these outside zone plays. This is obvious. This is insanely obvious. Isaiah Pacheco is a far more talented running back than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I don't care when they were drafted. I don't care one was a first-round pick, one's a seventh. Like, this stuff's obvious to anyone with eyes. Pacheco's averaging almost 5 yards a carry. Give him the football. I'm not saying if you do that more, they win the game. They probably have a better shot to. He certainly is the better bet to break off a big run. There were a couple times they blocked the play up perfect for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and he barely got positive yardage. He's too slow. He can't move. And the Bills have really fast linebackers. Like you need that guy who can get downhill and get going fast and now. Okay. The other thing I would say in this game, listen, I'm not going to get on Spags because he was between a rock and a hard place. The Chiefs were missing 3 defensive starters, and they were missing Brian Cook, who plays the snaps of a 4th starter. Spags, I thought, did just about everything he could yesterday. Like they brought blitzes. They were successful with their blitzes. They gave up 24 points to a great football team. Like if I'm the Chiefs, I'm actually really encouraged defensively, which I'm going to get to in a second. But I thought overall the coaching in that game, the taking the kickoffs out of the end zones, again, all that stuff, like, it's dumb football. And they get away with it a lot because they're just so much better than most of the teams they play. But, like, when they play the Bills, and they'll probably play them again, that kind of stuff can cost you games. It can. That's my concern. If and when they see Buffalo again in the playoffs, that their coaching is going to get them killed in these games. I thought it cost them the AFC Championship game a year ago, and it's something nobody wants to talk about because Andy Reid, he's just a great coach, and he is, but it's also fair to criticize him. He is not God, he is human. I think sometimes Andy Reid does things that cost his team football games. Now, to the positive side, then I'll take all your questions. The Chiefs are basically a brand new football team. Yeah, it may not feel like that nationally because they have Mahomes and Kelsey and Reid, and so they're familiar, but this is a brand new football team. The era of what they did the last 4 years is dead. This is a new team. And I got to tell you, that team yesterday played a Bills team that I think is the best team in football. That is very much a team with continuity that added Von Miller, but otherwise it's pretty much the same team it's been the last few years, and it's been rising and ascending, much like the Chiefs have done in previous seasons. And you know what? The Chiefs were every bit as good in that game yesterday. They didn't execute at the end. They had the game on the racket with 7.5 minutes to go, and the Bills, give them credit, got a stop. The Chiefs weren't able to move the ball down the field. That has, by the way, been a problem for them, is closing out games offensively. I think part of that is because they're just still trying to find their way a little bit in that regard, even though they are scoring 30 points a game. But I think if you're a Chiefs fan, you got to walk out and feel like the Chiefs are fine. If that's the best the NFL has to offer, and I think Buffalo is, I think the Chiefs are going to be fine. They see him again in January. And I'm not like sitting here saying, oh, I think they're going to run away and win the game. What I'm saying is I think the Bills and the Chiefs will be a coin flip in January because I think it was a coin flip yesterday, and I think the Chiefs are only going to get better. They have a bunch of young kids playing, guys out of the lineup, all these new moving parts, and they went toe-to-toe with the team that I think right now is clearly the best team in football. And the Chiefs, I won't say should have. They absolutely could have won the game. If I'm a Chiefs fan, I feel real good about that. Really good about that. I think a lot of people nationally thought the Bills were going to go in there and pace Kansas City. Well, that didn't happen. I think, look, usually if the Chiefs lose, I'll be the first one to say, like, I walk away and I'm usually either like, I can't believe they lost that game with the Colts game, or it's a really deflating loss. It's a playoff game. This game was not that. This game was not deflating. This game, in some ways, in a weird way, you almost walked away from it going, okay. I mean, if that's their biggest test, and it is, they're right there. They're as good as anybody in football. They just have to execute a play here or a play there. They win. Look, what that game did yesterday is probably put the AFC title game in Buffalo. And that's significant because the Bills get a bye. They get a home game if that's how it shakes out. But I got to tell you, like, if I'm the Chiefs, I certainly would have loved to have won yesterday. But if the Chiefs' biggest problem is that they got to go on the road for one game in the playoffs, because I don't think they're worse than a 2 seed, and they got to go play Buffalo, you think the Bills are going to be like over the moon confident? No. I mean, they're going to be confident, but they're going to be like, okay, this is a test. We have to be absolutely ready for this. You think the Chiefs are going to be shaking in their pants because they got to go up to Buffalo? No, of course not. They've won the Super Bowl. Like, this team, they're not going to be rattled by that. So I really feel like in the end, I think they're fine. I actually feel better about the Chiefs today than I did 24 hours ago. That sounds really weird, I know. But I think even a little part of me was curious, like, what is this going to look like? Because the Bills have Von Miller, and the Chiefs don't have Tyreek Hill. And like, how's this going to play out? I got to tell you, I think it's going to play out fine. The Chiefs match up pretty well. So all the credit in the world to the Bills. A huge win. They're a great team. And they're certainly the biggest roadblock for Kansas City to get back to the Super Bowl. But I walked out of that game feeling like the Chiefs are every bit as good. Not better, but every bit as good. And I think it's going to be – I think the way the conference is shaking out, I think those two teams are going to see each other in the AFC Championship game. So I think the Bills will be the 1 seed, Chiefs will be a 2 seed. I don't think anybody's beating either one of them. So, look, we'll see. It's a long season. Unfortunately, injuries happen. Surprise losses, stuff like that. You can get picked off in a playoff game. You don't expect to be picked off, and all that stuff's true. But right now, I think they're clearly the two best teams, and I think they're going to see each other again. I honestly, God, I think it's a coin flip. I don't even care where the game is. I think it's a coin flip. I think the Chiefs earned that belief yesterday, but the coaching scares the shit out of me. The coaching just scares the hell out of me. They're not well coached sometimes, and that is a problem. That is a major. Sometimes they're incredibly well coached, but I think they are really well coached Monday through Saturday, and on Sunday it's very scattershot. All right. Let me get to your questions. Let me start here. I'll scroll right back to the beginning. Dre's asked me if you had to predict today who would you pick to win the Super Bowl and against who? I picked the Bills. I picked the Bills to start the year. I'm going to pick them still. There's no reason not to. And I picked them against the Packers in the preseason. I'll take them against Philly. I mean, right now, how could you not? But I think the Chiefs are, to Buffalo's 1A. I think they're 1B. I really do. And you guys, look, whoever's listened to me over the years, I would say it. If I thought the Chiefs stunk or they weren't good enough, one thing about me, I would not pull a punch. I would be honest and just say, hey, look, I don't think they're good enough. I think they're good enough. I think they're as good. But Buffalo right now deserves that credit and deserves that nod. And the Chiefs are going to have to prove they can beat them. I mean, that's fair. That's real talk. That's where I'm at with this. All right. Who do you have winning tonight? Broncos or Chargers? Jason, the Chargers. I think the Chargers is better. The Broncos are a disaster. I don't know how you can pick Denver right now. I mean, based on what? I mean, unless you just are a believer that Russell Wilson's going to come out of it. I don't know. I don't know how you can pick them. They stink. They can't score a point. They're all beat up. Jeremy's asking why is Ronald Jones on the roster? I have no idea, Jeremy. I don't know why he was on the roster after the preseason. I don't understand why he's on it now. I don't think it really matters. He's never active. He's not taking the game day spot, but I'm with you. I mean, to me, he's a waste of a roster spot. There's no reason to have him on the roster. Ronald Jones at this point is dead weight. And if I was Ronald Jones, I'd ask for him to release me, get on the field somewhere else. Kale 368. Why does your offense seem so hit and miss? What are we missing here? Well, I think it's a few things. I think it's a lot of new pieces. But I also want to point out, Kelsey's doing what Kelsey always does. He's on pace for a huge year. He's going to have a huge year. Juju Smith-Schuster is on pace for over 1,000 yards. He's doing what everybody was hoping he would do. And MVS is on pace for a career high in yardage, like 730, I believe it is. McCole Hardman is on pace for exactly what he does every year, right around 600 yards. I think it just looks different, but I also think it's the offensive line, the tackles have not been good enough. I actually thought they were really good yesterday. I did. A lot of the pressure the Bills got was because Mahomes held on to the ball for 5 seconds. If you do that, it's going to happen, okay? I really thought that the Chiefs' offensive line was really good, but they need to be better, more consistent anyway at the tackle spot. And then they got to give the ball to Pacheco. Like, I'm done with this stuff with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You'd have to be blind at this point to think he's the best running back in the team. I mean, you just have to be. He has no vision. He's not fast. Look, he's a solid NFL running back. He's not a horrible player. He's not a guy you have to replace yesterday, but he's a guy. Pacheco has real talent. He can get up the field. He's faster. He's as physical as Edwards-Helaire. Like, get him on the field. They spent the whole offseason talking to everybody they could find in front of him behind closed doors, telling him how great Pacheco is, and then the guy never plays. Again, coaching, which is part of the reason I think they look so scattershot sometimes. Their coaching on Sundays, half the time, is a complete disaster. It is. I'm sorry. People don't like to hear that because it's Andy, but like Andy is killing them with some of the stuff that he does. I'm sorry, he is. Like they just don't adjust to anything, and it is by a mile my biggest concern. They go in with a certain belief system to the season, and it takes them forever to adjust out of it. All right, let's keep rolling here. Okay, Kyle says, in my opinion, offense will be fine. The only team to score more than 23 points against Arizona. Only team to score more than 20 against the Bucs. Only team to put 30 on the Raiders. Yeah, look, their offense is good. Their offense will be. If your biggest concern right now is Kansas City's offense, you're in good shape. Okay. How would you feel? Richie's asking, how would you feel about a trade for Jerry Hughes, Cam Jordan, Montez Sweat, Josh Allen, or Matt Judon? Not sure any would command the one other than maybe Sweat around. Yeah, listen, Judon's not going anywhere. They're not moving him. Cam Jordan's not going anywhere. Jerry Hughes, I think, is past his peak at this point. I wouldn't go there. I'd make the call to Washington. and see if one of those defenders on the line's available. And I'd make the call to Jacksonville. I don't know that either one of you have any availability. I'd make the call, and I'd tell you right now, like I don't care what they say publicly. I would call Carolina, and I'd call him again. I'd call him a third time and ask about Brian Burns and see what the offer has to be. Okay. Let's see. Brady asks, how much of these losses are caused by ego? The coaches and players think there's someone better than everyone else, and they'll easily just walk through everyone. Then games like Indy happen. I think that happened against Indianapolis to a degree. I don't think that happened yesterday. They know they're not heads and tails better than Buffalo. I think yesterday played a great team, and both teams made some mistakes in the game. And the Chiefs had the game on their racket with 7.5 minutes to go, and they're building with the ball, and they didn't execute. I don't think sometimes you can blame it on one thing other than just look. The Bills are really good. The Chiefs had an opportunity to put their foot on their throat. They didn't do it. The Bills got the ball back and said, "Watch us put our foot on your throat," and they did it. And that sometimes is the game in the NFL. When you have two really good teams, you get a shot, you better hit. You know, it's that old saying, you best not miss. They missed, and the Bills didn't. And so look, you know what? You give the Bills credit. The Bills are a great football team. And the Chiefs are a great football team, but the Chiefs didn't do what they needed to do in the last 7.5 minutes of that football game. That defense stopped Josh Allen 2 times in the fourth quarter. 2 times. And one time gave you amazing field position, and you turned those 2 trips into 3 points. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. All right. Stacey said, if you had to rank the positions the Chiefs might be looking to for the deadline, where'd you go here? Wide receiver, edge rush, tackle. I think edge rush is number 1. I do. Look, receiver to me, I'm only making a move at receiver if they could get a real difference made. Like if they get somebody who you're like, that guy is now the number 1 receiver in the team. Like to me, I don't care about these guys who they could, like the Robbie Andersons of the world. I don't care. Like that guy's not changing your offense. They need, if they're going to go out, like I would go out and try to do whatever I had to do to get Beckham. Like if I'm the Chiefs, that's what I'm doing. How much is it going to cost? What do you have to do? Do it. But I think 1 is edge. 2, I think, is receiver. 3, tackle, only because, look, I think Brown after the bye week will be better. I think he's been getting better the last couple of weeks. You notice he's not in the injury report now. He's getting better. I think Wiley is the most misunderstood guy in that team. He's not great, but he's fine. He's not bad. The only problem with Wiley, and I saw somebody mention it in the chat, the only problem I have with him is there are times when he has help on the outside, and he gets beat to the inside. And now, look, it's been by Max Crosby and Von Miller. Okay, he's not getting beat by some schlub. But, like, come on, man. You got to take the inside shoulder. I'm not saying that I wouldn't take an upgrade over Wiley. I don't think he's terrible. Like, some people make him out like he's the worst player they've ever seen. I think he's adequate. But could they use an upgrade there? Yes. But I would go with the other 2 spots first. Okay. Let's see here. Just going to keep rolling through here. And, if there's any questions on Twitter, by the way, I'll get to them in a second, guys. I'm just catching up on the video feed first. Okay. I think we're in pretty good shape. All right. Let's see here. Question. Why do we have so few interceptions these days, Joe? You know what? It's a good question. Part of it is really the Chiefs just haven't had their hands on a lot of footballs. I mean, how many times have they really just flat dropped a pick? Willie Gay did against Herbert. I don't remember any against Murray off the top of my head or Matt Ryan. There were none yesterday against Buffalo. The Chiefs aren't getting their hands on footballs. Now that I don't think the coverage has been awful. Like I know people would say, look at some of their numbers defensively. Some of that's blown out of proportion because of garbage time and stuff like that. I don't think they've been terrible against the pass. I don't think they've been great, but I don't think they've been terrible. They just haven't got their hands on a ton of footballs. I also think sometimes that stuff goes in waves. Like they could also have a stretch here for 4 weeks where they have 8 picks. Like some of that's a little cyclical. But it's a good point. Like I think part of that is they don't get a pass rush. They need to blitz everybody to get a pass rush. And if you start blitzing them, then you have fewer guys in coverage, right? That's how I would qualify that. I mean, the only pick 6. They had the pick 6 against the Chargers. Man, that's the only pick they have all year long. It's not good enough. You got to create some some mistakes. You really do. All right. Let me go through KL368. How did the rookie corners do? Not just Josh, but Watson too. So you had, Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson. I'll tell you, I want not watch the film yet. I don't even know if it's out yet. Probably out tomorrow would be my thought. You know what? On first glance, Jalen Watson's been great for them. They found that kid in the 7th round, and he has been lights out. How many times did you see him get burnt yesterday? I couldn't even tell you once. I thought he was excellent. Williams got beat a few times, one-on-one for touchdowns. And look, you're putting that kid in about the toughest spot you can put him in. I thought on first glance, just overall, I thought he did okay. I really did. I had a bigger problem with their safeties yesterday. I thought their safeties played like crap yesterday, specifically Thornhill. Now, again, I want to be fair to Juan, and I want to go back and watch the film. My immediate reaction is it felt like he was late a lot of times. Maybe he wasn't, and they had different defenses called. And it's easy to say that when you're watching on TV, but it seemed that way. That's how I would characterize that. But I thought the corners, they've been impressive this year. They really have been. All right. Let me make sure I'm not missing anybody. Okay. Okay. Do you think there's a better linebacker than Bolton? It appears nobody gets away from him. Bolton's been interesting this year. Bolton is a really good tackler, but Bolton also at times this year, like, he's not getting off blocks. He's great when he's downhill 1,000 miles an hour because he's so instinctive, and he's a good blitzer. He's not a coverage guy, which is fine. He wasn't drafted to be a cover guy. That's Willie Gay's role. He's got to get downhill, though, and get off these blocks. Like, the Bills just ran the ball down their throat yesterday. That's a Bolton problem. That's a Nick Bolton. And I'm a big Nick Bolton fan, but he is not like the last couple of weeks. He is just getting run over in the middle of the field. They've got to get off the ball, and they got to get off these blocks a little bit more. I think overall, yes, he's a very good player, but he has struggled to do what he does best the last few weeks, which is get in there. Now, he's a great tackler, and he's a great blitzer, and when he gets downhill and he beats the block, he's phenomenal, but he's got to beat the block a little bit more. Okay. Just make sure I'm not missing anybody. Are you still as high on George Karlaftis as you were in the preseason? I mean, I thought in the preseason, I sat here and said, look, I think he could be an immediate impact player for him. He was so great in the preseason. I still think he's going to be a very good player. He has not been the impact guy I thought he'd be in the preseason. No. It's funny. Before the preseason, I said, look, he's probably going to be a guy who flashes a little bit, but he's not overly productive. And I think that's what he's been. Then the preseason happened, and it really raised my expectations because he looked so dominant. He's not been bad. Like, he's made his fair share of plays, but he's not winning enough. He's not winning enough. Now, again, as a rookie, that happens. Like, I read off one time Justin Houston's rookie game log. I encourage anybody to go look it up. I think it's going to be similar to that, where Justin Houston didn't have a sack for like 12 weeks. And then he had like 4 in the last 4 weeks, and obviously went on to have a great career. I think you're going to see a lot of that. But Karlaftis right now, he's not. Nobody up front's winning enough one-on-one except for Jones. Jones is having an unbelievable season. The rest of this group can't be bothered to get off a block one-on-one to save its life. Frank Clark's busy arguing with the officials during a play. I mean, it's insane. By the way, Frank Clark, onto the point, look, rotate him in and all that. He should not be playing 70-some-odd% of snaps. Get Dunlap in there. Get anybody else in there. I mean, it's just, you can't have empty snap after empty snap after empty snap. Then, like, you make one play and everybody goes crazy. Like, come on. You're getting paid a fortune. Get off the block. Do something. Karlaftis not doing that. He's a rookie. It's one thing. Clark, come on, man. All right, let me just see what we got going on here. Kyle says, with all the low scoring lack of elite teams, does it seem like this is a year where unless you're Buffalo or Kansas City, having the better quarterback doesn't matter as much? Giants, Jets, Falcons as examples. Maybe right now. I think when it comes to the playoffs, you better have a great quarterback or your ass is going home. Okay, let's see. Just making sure I'm not missing any of you guys. I'm really hoping I don't miss anybody. Joshua says, do you think that people want the Allen Mahomes rivalry to be good and elevated in part because they're both such likable and good guys? Yeah, I think it's fun. They're just so exciting. They're both great players. They can do so many different things. They're different. They're unique. It's like watching Favre without the interceptions or the off-field stuff, okay? Play himself in his prime. Like that, it's incredibly entertaining. And those teams they're exciting teams. Um, is Willie Gay back next game? Yes, Cobra, he's back. Suspension's over. All righty. Where's Leo Chinaldo? He's been very quiet. Your thoughts? He's been quiet. He's the base linebacker for him. Look, they're getting blown off the ball in base. They can't stop anybody. I mean that's a problem right now. Now Willie Gay come back soon, so he's going to help that quite a bit, I think. But I got to tell you, I mean, right now when they play the Niners, let me tell you right now, the Niners are going to go heavy and they're going to run the ball down their throat. That's what they're going to try to do. And if the Chiefs aren't ready for it and they don't have an answer for it, they're going to get their butts kicked in this game. They've got to be able to stop the run better than what they've been doing. Mighty's asking, why is it that our offense isn't capable of capitalizing on opportunities? We started the second half with the ball and did nothing. We stopped them on 4th down at midfield and only got 3 points. You're right, man. I mean, that was the game. The Chiefs had the ball at 7-3, did nothing. Chiefs had the ball at 10-10 coming out of half, nothing. Chiefs had the ball at 17-17, got a field goal. Chiefs had the ball at 20-17, opportunity to absolutely fun end the game, did nothing. Got the ball at the end of the game to win it, threw a pick. They're a very good offense. Every statistic shows you that, but they got to be better in these moments. It's not a clutch thing. I mean, Mahomes has had a million clutch drives in his life. So it's not that. I don't think they fully trust everything yet. That's my only commentary on it because I don't think anything else really makes sense right now. They're too talented otherwise. I really feel that way. Is it arrogance or complacency? I think with the Chiefs sometimes. I think with the coaching staff sometimes it's arrogance. I do. Last year in the AFC title game, I used the term earned arrogance. I think the Chiefs coaching staff sometimes there's an earned arrogance. We'll just do whatever we want to do. Well, no, you won't. Because you're not that much better than everybody else. And now you're not better than everybody else because Buffalo's at minimum as good, if not a little bit better. The Chiefs, I don't think the players are arrogant. I really don't. I don't get that feel. I don't think Mahomes is arrogant. I don't think Kelsey's arrogant. I think the coaching staff is just arrogant. I think, and frankly, I know it's a strong word to use. What Andy did yesterday with the timeouts was it's ignorance. I'm sorry. He's a great coach in a lot of ways. It's ignorance not to use a timeout. It's ignorance not to run Pacheco on these outside. It's anybody in the world can see this. That's on you. Like you're the head coach of this football team. These aren't like arguable things. Like, well, really, if you look at it, there's no argument. It's insane. I'll go get the Tinder bot in here. Anybody needs a date, hit up the Tinder hot dot, whatever the hell. You're ready to go. Dropping in. See, listen, everybody needs a little love, right? Will McDuffie play next week? Do we know yet? Reid said that there's a chance he plays. Want to watch him in practice this week. I would expect him to, based off of the fact that they almost thought he was going to be able to play this week. I mean, I was told before the week of the practice with the Bills that if he had a good week of practice, there was a chance he'd play. They wanted to hold him back one more week. I would think he would play unless he steps back. All right. If I missed anybody's questions in the video chat, please just repost them. I think I got you all. I hope I got you all. All right, let me get some of the questions here on Twitter. How do you feel about a trade for an OT? I feel defensive end is paramount. The tackles are statistically bottom tier. Could really help the offense gel if Mahomes had time. Perhaps mix more run scheme into the game plan to help him, but they're just playing bad, it seems. See, you actually hit on something I keep saying. I'm not saying they don't have to be better because they do have – the tackles have to be better. But son of a bitch, help them out by running the ball occasionally. You know when they look their best? When you ran the ball against Tampa. You know why? Because Tampa couldn't just tee off the whole game. Nobody who plays the Chiefs respects them running the football. And that's a shame because they have a great offensive line, especially inside, that can run the ball. They don't do it. I firmly believe it'll be the most controversial take I ever have about them. I think they just don't want to do it because it's not fun. I honest to God believe that. Maybe that's a Skip Bayless take, and if it is, I'm sorry. I think the coaching staff, it has to always be a magic show. And if it's not that, it's not fun. And why are we going to do that? Maybe that's dumb. It's genuinely how I feel about it. All right. Chiefs defense. Would you focus on adding depth or adding a playmaker? I would add a pass rusher. You've got it. You have to get a pass rusher on this team if you're going to add to this team. I see people clamoring for receivers, and I get their receivers are fine. They need an edge rusher. They need to win more one-on-one. Right now, they're just not winning enough one-on-one. They're not. They're not. It's not even close. Call off the stretch to bull rush the tackle instead of trying to beat him on the outside. What do you think? I think he's still figuring out, how to win and what he's good at and what he can win with. I think he'll figure that out in time. I really do. That kid has a lot of talent. It's just got to come together a little bit. All right. Let's see. Tired of the Chiefs were down. Tired of the quote. Chiefs were down multiple players on D take. Who? Fenton? McDuffie? McDuffie could be nice, but don't think he's the difference. Problem is your offense being clunky and having no identity, can't run, nobody's scared of Hardman or MVS. Okay, so look, you're right. This is I don't think teams are quaking in their boots with Hardman or MVS. They're quality players, but they're not domineering players. Totally agree. The offense, I also agree right now, is clunky. I think it has an identity to an extent, like in the sense of like, look, it's Mahomes and it's Kelsey and they're going to throw the ball, right? But I know what you mean. They are unwilling, in my opinion, to round out their offense with the run game with Pacheco, and it's hurting their ability to block, and it's hurting their ability to draw guys up in coverage and then hit those intermediate throws. That would be my 2 cents on that. Nick says, I can't. You've gone off the deep end of lousy analysis. Nick, I went off the deep end of lousy analysis years ago. Thank you for noticing. But also, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. All right. Let me get back to the questions here in the video chat. Maxwell, trade for Verderame Payne. I mean, listen, you make a call, right? I'd make a call to Washington and kind of gauge the interest of everybody out there right now. I'll tell you right what else I do though. Like I'd call Ndamukong Suh's agent, see what he's up to. Why not? Like, why not? You telling me they couldn't use him? Like he's still a good player. I know he's older, but he's still good. MT, thanks for the super chat, man. Really appreciate you. You're awesome. If the Chiefs lose in the postseason again because of poor game day coaching, I hope more voices start calling out Andy. Anyway, thanks for the vid. Yeah, man, look, I think Andy Reid is a first ballot Hall of Fame coach for a lot of reasons. He's one of the best schemers I've ever seen. He's largely a very good play caller. He knows how to create mismatches. I mean, Andy Reid, listen, he's a great coach in a lot of ways. But his in-game decisions to me, his Sunday afternoon decisions, sometimes I'm baffled by them. I don't understand what the thought process is. That's the problem. It just feels like sometimes with them, there is no rhyme or reason to what they do. Like, it's just like, all right, we're going to run a stretch zone and we're going to do it with the slowest running back on the field. And we're going to go to the short side of the field. Why? Can anyone explain why? Like, what is the rationale behind that decision? Or hey, you know what? We're going to only use Jody Fortson inside the 2-yard line. Why? Like Mahomes has talked about it over and over and over and over and over. Put him on the field. Put him on the field. Sky Moore. He's shown he can run routes and get himself open. Like, why does Sky Moore barely exist? Now, look, maybe if I sat down with Andy Reid at 1 Arrowhead Drive, maybe he'd go, Matt, you're a moron. Here's why. Fair enough. I accept that that's a possibility. But from my vantage point, all that stuff to me makes no sense. I just don't get it. It does not add up to me. I do not understand it. It doesn't compute. All right. Cobra says, think Jay Watson is a keeper? I do. Yeah, I do. That kid can play. That kid is a good player. Is there going to be a Pro Bowl player? I have no idea. He's a good player. They found something with Jalen Watson. That he can get the job done. Stacey was asking, with Hardman not being a top offensive option, why not give him more work on returns? I feel like Pacheco and Moore are leaving yards on the field. Neither is a natural field for returns. I don't disagree. Especially with Pacheco, it feels clunky. I would put Hardman back there. I'd also like to ask, like, can Dave Toub coach any of these guys to block before the 10-yard line? Ever? I've never seen a team that every time they return a kick, somebody's at the 9-yard line waiting to hit somebody. Like, block someone. Create a lane. But I agree with you. I think Hardman should be a returner. He's a good returner. I think you're right on, Stacey. I'd put him back there as well. Jeremy saying top 3 NFL stadiums you haven't been to but are on your bucket list. I've been to a decent amount of them. Ironically, even though I live not that far away from it, I've been by Lambeau 100 times. I've never been to the stadium. That would have to be number 1 on the list. Number 2, oh man. I mean, I guess I've been to a decent amount of them, so I'm just trying to think which ones I haven't been to that I'd, like, really wanna go to. Never been to Pittsburgh. That seems like a really cool atmosphere. That seems like it'd be fun. And then I gotta say Jerry World, just for the experience of it. Just for the experience of it. But I've been to a lot of them, and it's a unique experience. It's a lot of fun, man. It really is. Not a bad gig. All right. KL368. So what's going on with the kick punt returning? It just seems bad. I think they should stop taking the ball out of the end zone. I think they ought to block somebody occasionally. That would help. All right. If you could bring back one of these 3, who would you bring back? Dante Hall, Priest Holmes, or Willie Roaf? I'd add in Derek Thomas, but that's an easy answer. Yeah, it would be an easy answer. Willie Roaf, not even close. Willie Roaf. You put that guy on the left side of the line. The Chiefs may never punt. All right, let's see. Okay. Yeah, Mighty says Washington, right? You'd like to go there. No, I'm good. I'm good. I used to live in that area, and I love the area, but you couldn't pay me to go to FedEx Field, man. What a disaster. Everything about it. The stadium, the team, a disaster. Let me see. I'll check in on a few more questions here online if we have any. Okay. Heim says, we need an edge rusher. How realistic is the addition of Brian Burns in free agency? Well, he signed for this year and next, I believe. So they have to trade for him. And to trade for Brian Burns, they're giving up a first. They are. So are they willing to do it? I don't know. Okay, we got B-Rad saying, agree, bro. It's not flashy. The whole NFL, though, passing league. That's why I can appreciate old school running back. Look, you've got to be able to run the ball. You have to be able to run the football. And you have to run it a ton. Okay, it's not 1992, but when you run the ball successfully, you open up your whole playbook. You put the defensive line on its heels. It changes things. And when you can't do that or you refuse to do it, you hurt every aspect of your offense. I'll argue that till the end of time. I don't care. I will argue with everyone in the world that says running the ball doesn't matter. It's stupid. It absolutely matters. Okay. Can Odell Beckham Jr. make a difference, or should we not? I think he can make a difference. I absolutely think he can make a difference. Yeah, I'd go after him in a heartbeat. Okay, making sure we're good there. Yep, seems we're caught up there. All right, great. Let me get back in. How many times did Pacheco run the ball yesterday? I'm going to check real quick. Wasn't it once? Did he run the ball one time? Wasn't that it? Maybe I'm wrong with that. Twice for 9 yards. Meanwhile, Edwards-Helaire averages 3.9 or 3.7 yards a carry. And by the way, I love that, like, Jerick McKinnon, who got them going against the Raiders, who had this really, really nice run, like, doesn't even get on the field. Not he's not on the field. Yeah, he had snaps, but like doesn't get to run the ball. Why? Like they treat it Clyde Edwards-Helaire like he's Earl Campbell. Like, can anyone else run the football occasionally? They're both better running backs. Success mindset. Hey man, let me check it out. Let me see. My apologies, man. A lot of comments. So it's sometimes I miss them. There you go. Super chat. Thank you, dude. I didn't see it. My apologies. Josh, last 3 games versus the Chiefs, 300+ yards, 3+ touchdowns, no picks. Yeah, no, listen. He has torched them. He has. Now, look, he's had a lot of success. Obviously, the playoff game they lost wasn't on him. He was fantastic. They just lost the game. Allen is a beast to defend because you have to defend every blade of grass, not only running, but also throwing, of course. He gives the Chiefs and just about everybody else fits. Mahomes has been able to return the favor with the touchdowns and the yardage, but he's thrown a couple of picks. So that's been really the difference in 2 of these last 3 games. I think they see each other again. Allen probably has another big game. Mahomes probably has another big game. And that's why these games are so fun. But thank you for the super chat, man. Yeah, Allen has been beast. Allen's phenomenal to watch. If the Chiefs aren't in the playoffs, I'd root for the Bills, quite honestly. Yeah, just from a entertainment standpoint, they're phenomenal to watch. How could you not? Okay. Joe Johnson says, agree with you, V. Running opens everything up. That's funny. I haven't had called somebody called me V since college. Everybody called me V in college. I think people just, were too drunk to pronounce Verderame. All right. Let's see. Let's roll and just make sure I'm not missing anybody. Michael says, can we please talk about why Patrick isn't hitting Jody when he's wide open 4 times yesterday? Like he's proven more than once and he won't even look his way. I'd have to go back and look at that. I agree. Jody Fortson should be getting more targets. I don't know why they have this. Now, he did throw to him on a play that got called back because they said that the Bills were unabated to the quarterback. But Jody Fortson should see the ball. He's not a great player, but he's a mismatch. He's a good talent. He's really athletic. I'm going to go back and watch the film. I don't even know if it's out yet, like I said, but I will go back and watch it. And if that's the case, and Jody was open 4 times, and Patrick should be throwing the damn ball. All right. Let me keep rolling. What are the odds we try and get OBJ? Look, there's going to be a lot of teams to try to get Beckham, but they were in on him last year. I don't know why they wouldn't be this year. What do they keep seeing in Derek Nottie? He just doesn't bring anything to the middle. Derek Nottie, yeah, he's been disappointing this year. Derek Nottie has not done the job, in my opinion. And I would just play Saunders at this point. I don't think there's any reason to keep playing Derek Nottie. Derek Nottie is going to be a free agent this offseason, and I think he's probably going to be elsewhere. Okay. Mercurial says, got to remember it's a retooling year. If we're this close and we are still so far ahead of the test of the league, we can still do damage to the guys. They can win the Super Bowl. I mean, they're one of the three best teams, clear and away in the NFL. If you're that good in October, you're fine. You'll be right where you need to be. All right. Let's see. Dan says, no blame on Spags for leaving 2 rookie DBs by themselves. I think so. Yeah, look, man, I hear you on that. My argument would be they can't get a 4-man pass rush to save their lives. And I will never blame Spags for being aggressive. I think he just took a chance. And look, Allen, to his credit, made a couple of great throws on those touchdowns and one-on-one coverage. It wasn't like Williams got toasted. He didn't. They made great plays. Like I don't blame him. I'll tell you right now, that is one thing I will take out of this game if you're looking at it from a Chiefs perspective. If I'm the Chiefs, I would, if they play the Bills again, I would blitz the daylights out of Allen. They had a lot of success doing it. And next time around, you're probably not going to have Joshua Williams in man-on-man coverage. It's probably going to be Snead, Watson, and McDuffie. And if I'm the Chiefs, I take my chances 10 times out of 10 with that. I'm not saying you'd win. You could still lose. But they found something in those blitzes with Allen. Allen had a hard time beating them. The Chiefs were getting home relentlessly. One thing the Chiefs defense might be this year, they might be the best blitzing defense in the NFL. They have great blitz packages. I mean, they have done it to everybody that they've played so far. They bring these blitzes and they just destroy teams up front with it. And I think when you've got this corner group you've got, now not the one you saw yesterday because they're so beat up, like the actual corner group, that is, we talked about having no identity right now in offense. That's their identity to me defensively. You just bring the house, you play man behind it, and here it comes. I think that's the calling card. And with Gay and McDuffie and Fenton and Cook coming back potentially this week, I think that's your move going forward. I really do. All right. Let me make sure I'm not missing anybody. All right. Mighty says Matty V. Yep. You might have went to college with me. So V and Matty V. That was what everybody called me. Is the media underselling the significance of the AFC potentially having to go through Orchard Park? I live in Buffalo, and the weather, this fan base seems like the ultimate home field advantage. It's a great home field advantage, but I don't think it's any more than Denver when they're great, or Kansas City when they're great, or Pittsburgh when they're great. Like, look, I think it'd be hard to go in there and win as an opposing team, but not because of the weather or the fans, because of the team. I mean, and that, by the way, that's not a dig at the fan base. Look, I grew up in New York. Okay, not in Western New York. I grew up toward the city, but I went to school 3 hours from Buffalo, and I've been to many Buffalo games. Of all the stadiums I've gone to, and I genuinely mean this, the 2 biggest home field advantages are Kansas City and Buffalo. It is deafening. It's loud. They're passionate. Is it harder for the Chiefs to win in Buffalo than Kansas City? Yeah, probably. But do I think it's some impediment that they couldn't overcome? No. Because I think the team's great. Just like I don't think Buffalo would be stopped by going to Arrowhead. It's who executes better. Those 2 teams are so close. It's just who executes better. I honestly feel that way. And the Chiefs are on a warm weather team. Like it's not like the Chiefs are Miami going up there. Like the Chiefs playing cold weather and they play outside. I think they'd be okay. I think they have to execute. Assuming Trey White comes back healthy and the Chiefs have to play the Bills again, are you concerned that he can severely limit Juju and force Mahomes to rely on his other receivers? Tre'Davious White's a hell of a player. No question about that. I think the Bills largely play a lot of zone. And sometimes they'll match up within that zone with White. So to a degree, but I also think like if you're doing that, then you're taking a guy out of coverage that could do other things against other receivers. I think, of course, having Tre'Davious White on the field makes it more difficult. He's awesome. But I think the Chiefs would find ways. I do. And also, look, if they're doing that with Smith-Schuster, then Kelsey's going to be open. And Kelsey always has big games against Buffalo. Like, I think the Chiefs would be able to adjust. But can't underestimate him. White's awesome. He's one of the best corners in the league. But it's just like, look, the Chiefs are going to get all those guys back. But the Bills would find other ways to adjust, right? Those quarterbacks are so good. I think they just figure it out. All right. Time Traveler says, trading, making Pacheco the kick returner. It should be Hardman. Pacheco should be on the O-line with Clyde. That opens up our tight ends and wide receivers. Pacheco should be the starting running back in this team. And McCall, I think, should be the kick returner. So we agree. James Kirk says there's been no pressure at the front four as Frank Clark disappeared again. Frank Clark's just, I'm sorry. Like, he's a guy. He's a guy. He's a rotational player that's playing full-time snaps. That's what he is. That's what he is. Sorry. Jones is the only guy who wins one-on-one. That's it. That's it. All right. Let me keep rolling. My guy Stacy saying philosophically, by the way, Stacy, I get out to KC this year, man. Breakfast is on me. We'll get together. Philosophically, does Andy Reid think scheme is more important in football than will and execution? Is that why he avoids making the call everyone in the stadium expects? Look, I do believe with Andy that that he has a reputation of just he is married to his scheme in a way that they win games because of it and they lose games because of it. There are people in the NFL that absolutely think that about Andy Reid. I know, because I go to NFL events and I've had people flat out in the league say that to me, that they win games because of him and they lose games because of him. And I think it's true. I do. Now, they win more than they lose, but I think it's true. I absolutely think it's true. He is too beholden to his own stuff sometimes. And he needs to just open his eyes sometimes to just be basic, obvious things. I don't think it'll ever happen. All righty. Let's see. What do we got? Josh Return. Where in New York are you from? I grew up in Utica, so I love seeing my fellow upstate New Yorkers being successful. Thanks, Joshua. I grew up in the Catskills. I grew up in a really small town named Livingston Manor, which I love dearly. I get there every summer for about a month. I used to cover the Binghamton Senators in the American Hockey League, and I went and saw the Utica Comets many times working in the media as a 22-year-old kid who didn't know anything about anything. And now I'm a 34-year-old guy who knows nothing about anything. Love New York. Absolutely love it. Lucas, any conclusions to draw from this stat? Per Pro Football Focus. Oh, God almighty. On Sunday versus man, Josh Allen was 5-9 for 80 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a 125 rating. Versus zone, Allen was 19-23 for 219 and a 106.3 rating. Yeah, I mean, look, obviously he had the 3 touchdowns against man, but I got to tell you, like, I would play man against him. Like, 9 attempts for 80 yards is not bad by any stretch. But I think you have a better chance in man. By the way, that's not with just Allen. I feel like that in general against great quarterbacks. You give them zone, they'll just kill you. So that's where I feel. Mason, do you think we still have a chance to host the AFC title game with Buffalo having to play the AFC East till 5? I mean, listen, anything's possible. There's 11 games left. I mean, crap. The Bills beat them last year in week 5. They went up 2 games on them with a breaker, and they still didn't beat them out. I do think, though, the Bills are going to get home field advantage. I just think the Bills are good enough. I don't think they're going to let that slip through their fingers. I think the Chiefs are going to have to go up there. But I got to be honest. I think they can. I don't know if they will. I don't know if they will beat them, but they can beat them. I, honest to God, feel more confident about the Chiefs today than I did yesterday because you saw the best team in the world that they went against. I think the Bills are certainly that. If the Chiefs execute a couple plays different, they win. I mean, there was no big difference between those two teams yesterday. Nobody could tell me that. You would be, look, Any Chiefs fan or Bills fan who says, yeah, I feel ultra confident in a rematch is full of shit. They are. Let's be real. All right. Keep it going here. Danbo's asking, is there any player you think we should get before the trade deadline? Like edge rush. I mean, you pick a name. Edge rush. I would call the Panthers every day about Brian Burns. All righty. Let me check online here on Twitter. Let me make sure I'm not missing anybody's questions or thoughts. B-Rad's asking, why isn't Sky Moore not being up? It just disappeared on me. Hold on. There we go. Why isn't Sky Moore not being more involved in the offense? Because he's a rookie? He should have caught that slant. He would have had a lot of room afterwards. Juju is stepping up. Mahomes to Juju's chemistry is nice to watch. I agree with the run offense. Teams are dropping back 9. Like I think, yeah, probably because he's a rookie. But he should get on the field more. I'm sorry. He's a better. You clearly can tell that kid's got receiving skills. Like, put him on the field, split up his time with Hardman. I'm not saying bench Hardman or bench MVS. MVS is going to have 750 yards at this rate. Like, I'm not saying bench these guys, but get more on the field. Go more 4 wide. Sometimes. Because like whenever Kelsey's off the field, Sky Moore, get him on the field. All right. Let me see here. You think Niang will come in and play right tackle? I think if he's healthy, he very well might. Any chance with Kennard? No, I don't think so. Not this year. Why does the media not ever comment on how the Chiefs are so competitive despite doing a massive rebuild? I mean, look, because I think most people view the Chiefs as a juggernaut, even in this rebuild phase, right? I think that's why. I hear you. I know what you mean, but I think that's why. It's expected. They're expected to be great, and they are great. But it's also now gotten to a point for a lot of people that it's boring that they're great because they're great all the time. Is it time to bench CEH? No, but it's time to give Pacheco more of the carries. That would be my feeling. It's time to make that a 2-to-1 split. Okay, every time Clyde has 5 carries, Pacheco would have 10. Any pass rushers in mind that could come that we could acquire at this point? Like I keep saying Burns. I know the Panthers are resolute to not going to trade him. Keep calling, and I'd call everybody. I'd call Washington. I'd call the Bears about Robert Quinn. I'd call them all. I'd make every call you can because they need a pass rusher. Anybody with eyes can see that. They get a pass rusher, and that really changes things. They are in business in a major way. Okay. Why don't they move OBJ, Orlando Brown Jr.? It always screws me up because I always think of Beckham. Why don't they move him to right tackle and put literally anyone else at left tackle? Because who are they putting at left tackle? Tooney? And then they're going to move Allegretti in there. I think you screw up the integrity of the interior of the line, which frankly to me is the most important because you can always step up or step out. Also, I think Orlando Brown, it would not be a good internal situation if they move him to right tackle. That would be my 2 cents. Okay. I think we're good there. Yeah, I think we... Okay, Jay Williams disagrees with your post-game comment about running the ball. We refuse over and over when facing light boxes. It's been a Reid staple dating back to Philly. He refused to run. Can't say we learned from losses when this is always his MO. Yeah, look, I swear to God, you could have teams put 11 DBs on the field 20 yards off the line of scrimmage, and he would just throw the football. I honest to God think he would do it half the time. I mean, look. Trying to think I can word this. I will forever believe they lost the AFC Championship game far more because of Andy Reid than Patrick Mahomes. And that's not to take it away from Mahomes. Mahomes didn't play well second half of that game. All Andy Reid had to do was call a run play in that half of football, and they would have won. I mean, just mind-blowing at times. 1 of 5 is asking, trade Orlando Brown next season. Looked upgrade. I'll tell you right now, if I was on the Brown, maybe you should have taken that contract. Josh says, good game, y'all. We'll see you in January. Absolutely, man. I expect to be the AFC title game in Buffalo. Absolutely. You feel penalties should be reviewable? No, I think we'd be there for 5 hours. But I think the officiating is just brutal. Both teams yesterday had time to scream, had reason to scream at different times. James is asking, please address the bogus offensive PI call. Look, if you're a Bills fan, you're saying Kelsey extended his arm and he pushed off, right? And he did extend his arm. If you're a Chiefs fan or you're Tony Romo, you're sitting there saying, how do you call that? Like, he barely did anything. He did his arm out, but he barely touched him because he was so far away from him to begin with. It's ticky-tack. The ineligible lineman downfield is ticky-tack. He's a half yard past how far he's supposed to be. Like, Doesn't get called very often, especially on a play like that. Yeah, look, those calls are ticky-tack. Frank Clark got blatantly held on the last drive. No call. But you know what? Bills fans could sit there and say, hey, come on, man. There's a couple ticky-tack holding calls downfield. I mean, the non-tripping call was insane. It's one of the worst missed calls I've ever seen. How do you miss that? I think the officiating evened itself out yesterday in a lot of ways. I do. I got to be fair. I think it did. Okay. Think I got it. Okay, here we go. Should the trip been called on Jones? Oh God, yeah. Yeah. I mean, Jones had to be laughing on the sideline. I mean, he tripped him clear as day. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Let me see if we got any other questions. And if not, I think we're gonna wrap at about an hour here. Who's calling the plays, Reid or Eric? It's Eric. Excuse me. No. It's Andy. It's Andy. Okay, let's not start throwing Eric Bieniemy under all 18 wheels again. Eric Bieniemy is not calling the plays for this team. It is Andy Reid now. It is Andy Reid forever. Okay, just be really clear about that. All right. I think that's it. All right. Listen, everybody, thanks so much for joining me. I shot a lot of videos this morning for Stacking the Box and the Arrowhead Addict podcast. If you haven't already subscribed to both, please do. Would really appreciate it. I really can't tell you how much I appreciate support. If you enjoy my work and you're not listening on Twitter, follow me on Twitter. I'm Matt Verderame. You see it right there at the bottom. You can follow me. You can super follow me, and you get extra content. I see a handful of my super followers in here right now. Jeremy, who's always chatting it up, always has insightful questions. Appreciate all you guys. There's certainly more than enough content to go around. And of course, most importantly, if you're not an Arrowhead Addict member, you can become one right now. There are 3 different tiers. You can join for 99 cents a month. You get a newsletter. You get access to looking at the Discord. $5 a month. You get the newsletter, among other things. Here you see it right here on the screen. It's starting 11. You get the newsletter. You can then get full Discord access, so you not only can see it, but you can talk in the Discord with everybody, which is always a lot of fun. We not only talk football, it really is a community. It's a lot of fun in there. We have members only events, all the rest of it, access to bonus members only content, and then of course $9.99 Ring of Honor. So you have all that stuff. Look, you can get content anywhere you can find it. You can get it here with the Chiefs. You can get Sack in the Box, where you can get the national perspective. You can follow me on Twitter, super follow me on Twitter, do whatever you want. There is tons and tons and tons of stuff. And for obviously super followers, there's a bunch of extra stuff with just me as well in a small group. So, all right. Hey, thank you so much for joining me today. This is the Arrowhead Addict podcast and Matt Verderame Spaces. I might incorporate that. Thank you so much for joining. And we will talk to you again as the week goes on. But for now, the Chiefs, 4-2 and in good position, have to feel good about where they're headed as they go and play the Niners this weekend. I'm Matt Verderame. Thanks so much for listening. Appreciate all of you.